Welcome to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nickel.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're here to talk about what goes on in your community with the village councils, the township, various meetings that they've got going on that makes rules and regulations which affects everybody out there except you.
True. But these are the people that you elected, whether you come from Addison Township, Village of Oxford, Leonard, or Oxford Township. These are the people you elected, or the people that they've appointed to commissions. The decisions they make, like Elgin said, directly affect you.
Yes. And I want to tell you, everything you hear on this show and see on this show, 100% true.
Except for what he says.
Okay. Well, actually, we want to say that we do start rumors here. And a lot of them we do finish here, too, at some point.
This is our official disclaimer.
It is. Let's talk about the first meeting. The first one that we should talk about probably is the Oxford Village Council meeting. And they had a special meeting.
Right.
Special. They're all special. But
And they'll have a regular one next week.
they will. Mm-hmm. And let me see. We've had a couple of
What was so special about this meeting?
Well, it was to talk about money. And whenever you talk about money, it's always special.
Yeah.
Right? This was on August 6th that they had it. And the first thing they did is they wanted to approve the cost for what they call the Edison Alley project. And you're familiar
Okay.
with that. I hope you folks are. We've talked about it on other shows here.
That's the one that goes by the Lutheran Church?
It does. It goes in back, and in back of all the businesses. The road will run in the back area, and I think that road width is going to be something like 27 feet wide.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to have a bike path and all kinds of things in the way it's laid out and designed.
Does that have an entry point from 24?
It does. A one-way, though. It's going to be one way in that direction. There's no out. No,
That direction? Which way was that?
yeah. It won't be an out towards 24. It'll be an in to the
okay.
back route that people can take to get to the various businesses that are in that zone or that in that area. And that's quite a controversy. They have a turnaround system that they've added to this road.
Will that be at what point where it hits the industrial drive?
No, it's going to be right as you come off 24, and hit this thing behind the Lutheran Church. But the question is, if that really should be done or not. So that's kind of in controversy. But the plan is.
Why do they need a roundabout?
Well, because eventually, there will be two lanes, lead to this road. It's just a matter of time. If you look at the what they call the master plan, for the village, also for the township, but for the village, this particular road service or change has been in place, for over 20 some odd years. So it's been bouncing around.
Nothing like a well-polished plan.
Yes.
There mustn't be anything left of it by now.
It's kind of like, what are those, what do you call them, that come and go out in
Streets.
the outer space? They come, they go, they're coming back in about 30 years.
Comets.
Those are the guys, yes. It's kind of like a comet. Maybe we should have named it a comet project or something along that line. But anyway, so the estimated cost of doing this is going to be around $350,000. We did approve this, prior to this, but there's some additional expenses too, like engineering, that's going to crop into this thing. So it may not be polished off at $350,000.
Are they making any accommodations for the residents in that area?
Yes, they're moving them to isolated areas, such as you did for the chipmunks that you moved. No.
But they were chipmunks.
Yeah, well, they don't put them in little cages. That's the advantage. No, this guy's been moving chipmunks.
I call it my relocation program.
Okay. No, they're not going to be relocated. There were a number of citizens there from that area, primarily, who complained that they're taking out trees, bushes, and shrubs and that kind of thing in order to widen this road, and want to know, what the village is going to do to replace these items or make it better. In other words, one gentleman stood up. He said, "Hey," he said, "I want a fence along here, and I want it in brick."
Well, nothing like going for the Cadillac.
Yeah, right, but he wants it for the length of the road. So, well, let me see, calculate this real quick. We don't have that much money, to put up a wall. And the other thing that comes into play here is that
So how are they going to accommodate them?
Well, I don't know if they're going to accommodate them. That's the point. I did do some research, and I have talked to the inspector in town to find out, is there an ordinance in place that requires the village to put up a fence or shrubs or anything along that line? And guess what? No, they don't. And the reason why I asked that question is because back where I'm from originally, before I came here 3 years ago,
Where were you from?
Bay City,
Oh, that place.
up in Bay County area. But anyway, I had properties up there, and one of the pieces of properties, they widened the road, such as what they're doing here. And when it was all done, they put curbing in and everything. And of course, they did sit down with me and talk to me about the curbing and how it should go in, and the slant that it should have coming to my property. The one thing that they made very clear is that the road is being improved on for the residency, for the convenience of the population here, to make the flow better and less accidents. In other words, a safety situation. And so, I needed a fence in there, and guess who had to put it up? I did.
Yeah.
As a property owner, I paid for it. I paid for the shrubs and so forth. So I questioned that. Why me as a taxpayer now, I'm looking at it, has to pay for this guy's fence. He wants to run the whole length.
Seeing that as a taxpayer, you already paid for the road.
Right. And I don't want to pay for a fence. That's my opinion. And I don't want to pay for shrubs. That's my opinion. There's others out there that might want to say, hey, yeah, this guy should have a fence and so forth, and I'll pay for it. I doubt it, though.
In doing that, just to complicate the issue more, did you have to go to the Planning Commission and say you were going to do all this?
Yeah, actually, that's another question that came up. Has this thing been before the Planning Commission? I don't think it has been. Yes, it has been several times. Has it been to the Planning Commission before over the last 20 years? Yeah, I'm sure it probably has.
No, but what I'm saying is if a resident chooses to put partitions up or whatever, he would have to go to the Planning Commission to do that.
You have to go to the Planning Commission. There's
Right.
certain requirements, in the village that you have to concur with.
Right.
You can't run around putting up fences willy-nilly out there.
Willy-nilly?
Willy-nilly.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so it has to be done the right way, and you have to pull the proper permits, of course, to do this. But the road itself, there's no requirement, for anybody to pay for fences, shrubs, and that kind of thing, and sound barriers. And there's other questions that came along with, even if you did do a solid fence, is it going to reduce the sound in the area? And engineers have indicated no, it doesn't solve any issues. You're better to go with shrubs and so
I
forth.
see. And in 27 years, this has never popped up?
That is a good question. You know what? We'll discuss that in a moment when we come back. 20 years, 25 years. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we're beating the living squat out of this Edison Alley project, aren't we?
Should we move on?
I don't know, but I think we'll get a lot of letters on this one. I'm not sure, but could. They also talked about the Pollyant Trail and the problem they have with the Pollyant Trail and about where the bridge is at
Yeah,
in town. You know where that bridge is at?
with the big signs on it.
Right, to show people, like the Lone Ranger Parade and those kind of things,
Uh-huh.
right? Well, there appears to be another situation with the Pollyant Bridge, particularly down where Merge is at. And it cross sections the road down there where it
Yeah.
meets the people coming off the bridge.
Yeah, there's little stop signs for the bikers that are on the thing.
Yeah, except
Stop.
the people on the bikes, hey, it's a hill, let's go. And they don't stop, they just zip right on through there. So it's a safety issue,
But don't they have, at the end of the bridge, at the end of that, where it intersects the road,
barricade? No.
just before that, aren't there like bollards, little
No,
restrictors?
no,
No, there aren't?
no, there
To
aren't.
prevent vehicles from going up on the bridge?
No,
I thought they were.
no, they're not supposed to drive up there, but they can get by if they want. People
Really?
do what they want to do
I
if they
thought
can
there were
get away
there were
with it, but-
restrictive poles there.
Yeah.
But I
There
have to
might-
look again.
Well, there might be, but if they do, they're fairly wide situation where you
Right.
can.
So what
you
you're
know.
talking about are people on bicycles just shooting across the road from the bridge.
Right, and the other problem is the fact that when people come up to a
There is a
stop
stop.
sign,
There is a stop sign
There's
there
two.
for those bikers, though.
there is for them and there is for the vehicles
Right.
on that road. There's a problem with that. The stop signs for the vehicle,
Yeah.
people don't stop. They cruise through sometimes. And the people on the bikes,
That's been known to happen.
yeah, people on the bikes, they don't stop either. So it is
It
a
could be a
safety
meeting of the minds or worse.
yeah, it's a safety issue. So anyway, so they have suggested, through engineering and so forth, that first of all, do away with stop signs because nobody pays attention to them, and put yield signs in instead. Okay, yield is fine. Look both ways, check it out. Just don't accelerate when you get to the road.
Yield means you don't have to stop.
Well, yield means if there's something coming, stop. Yield to it, right? Okay.
That doesn't make any sense
What
at
are you
all.
shaking your head for?
That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm sorry.
It does. As a matter of fact, it was passed. Now, does it make sense?
So they're going to replace all the stop signs in town with
No,
yield signs?
no,
Why not?
No, just this particular location
Oh,
because
my
of the
God.
bikes. Okay, and they're talking about putting an electronic sign up that will flash as cautionary. You know,
To who?
Well, to the motorist and possibly to the bicyclist. Actually, the bicyclists, they have another plan to slow them down. But this cautionary thing will alert people that, hey, there might be somebody coming. So,
What's that other plan, by the way?
well, the other plan is that they can offset with barriers, how you can walk through and then kind of a maze to
like
get
a
out.
right angle
Right,
kind of
so
a
you
thing.
have to stop.
Or you crash
Now-
into the barrier.
Right, now Bay City has done this, with their park.
And God help you if
It
your
works
brakes
great.
fail.
Now this thing really works well. There's no problems with it
Okay.
if they install this way. And at one point they said, well, Elgin, if it's done in Bay City, do you know anybody there? Get a hold of them, get the plans, we can do it. I said, you can probably go to Google, like Dave Kenny does all the time,
Uh,
and you can find it out there, and it'll show you. It's a very simple system, won't cost a lot of money, but boy, does it slow down the bikers. But the only thing is, if
there's
you're
not a lot of room to put that in, as I remember.
Oh, there is.
There is?
There's room there.
Okay.
They checked that out. The only thing that they were concerned with is some of the bikers have little cabooses on for children that they tow the children around. So they're a little bit longer. So you need a way to snake these people through, and it can be done. And again, that's the system they have
Or-
up in Bay City. Very innovative. I think
You
it'll
can
work.
you could educate people to say STOP. What does that mean?
But it hasn't worked yet. so you gotta
Or-
protect people that don't read very
How
well.
about a little follow-up? Stop, or else.
Put a sign up that says boa constrictors. Yeah.
Violators
Caution, mongoose.
violators will be persecuted, or is that prosecuted?
One more. Storks.
Storks.
That would stop them, wouldn't it? I don't know if it would or not. But anyway, depends.
The planners are just scratching their heads right now.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they did a survey or an analysis of what it would cost for fences, just for curiosity. You might know that a split block, which is half block fence, 6 feet high, and of course they want an 8-footer possibly, is over $68,000 just to do.
Could I ask a question
Mm-hmm.
here? You build this barrier for the bicyclists.
Mm-hmm.
Does it present a problem for the motorist who, at this point, might not be able to see them now?
Oh, no. This is all clear. It's going to be metal bars like,
Oh, metal
see-through.
bars. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
see-through.
Okay.
And it'll probably have to be painted orange stripes or whatever. And probably a caution sign too that blinks on and off, and I don't know what else will be required in order for the safety.
But the
effort.
intermediate step is to put a yield sign up?
Yes, put a yield at the,
No.
yeah, that was approved because it was supported by the police department. They agree, that this is what should be done.
So what about the stop signs that are there on Glassby Street?
Stop signs are at Glassby Street. Oh, that's a whole different subject, and that's in the township. That's not our problem.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it is because we got traffic traveling through there from the village, but actually it's everybody's problem because we're in the township
Well, I
too.
mean, they have little
But-
stop signs there too.
They do.
And do people cruise right through those?
Well, there have been accidents there, but the biggest problem you have at the Glassby Street light, down on that end, you're talking about Oxford and Glassby Street, on that corner, when the buses get out at night, and or after school.
I'm talking where Pollyant Trail crosses
Yeah, well,
Glassby.
yeah, that's down there too. I don't know, there's not a problem on that end, I know, only on the merge.
Okay.
And they're having a problem. So anyway, so that needs to be resolved, and it looks like these are the first steps. Joe is going out to see exactly what type of signs are available that will be cautionary. Looking for solar signs primarily, so that you don't have to have the expensive wiring, this thing to that location. And also possibly sensors that'll activate, when somebody is in that area.
That's a lot of sensitive equipment. Is it also going to be vandal-proof?
Excuse me on that one. I don't think that's going to happen no matter what. If there's somebody out there.
Mr. Murphy says it could.
but anything that can be tampered with the right, wrong thinking, can be vandalized. You and I both know that. So just people in the community just need to be on outlook and just pay attention as to what's going on around them, of course. Right?
Sure.
And that coupled with a great police force, which Oxford has, should be able to nab these desperados some way or another, huh? Right?
With $50,000 worth of surveillance equipment.
That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll tell you more about this when we come back, right after this. Yeah, right. You got it. Welcome back to Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
And we've been talking about all the things that are going on with the, first of all, the Edison project that they're working on. Then we talked about Pollyant Trail and how it needs to be safety for people crossing it, both people with bicycles and cars.
Right.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the election. We just had a primary election.
Ah.
Hey, how was it for you?
Well,
Oh, you're from Brandon.
I'm from Brandon, but
Do they have anything on the ballot in Brandon?
well, they had a proposal for renewing the village for the police, and of course everyone passed that. Then there was that complex one
About the
that you also had.
about the chipmunks that you can't
Not that
transport?
chipmunks, not that chipmunks. The one with about 8 pieces to it that pointed in all directions, and
Oh, yeah?
everyone went, I don't know, throw a dart at it.
How did it do? It won, didn't it?
It passed, not terrifically, but it passed.
It did make it. And I think it did pretty much around the state.
I don't think anyone could explain the darn thing. Not even you could explain it clearly.
Well, I could, but it probably wouldn't be right. Oh, yeah, it would
Well,
be right.
like
I
I
forgot.
said.
Everything you say is right. The election that we had, of course, in Oxford was rather interesting.
Yeah, there was a lot of flames there.
Oh, there were. I want to talk, first of all, about the state representative that was running for Republican, as a Republican candidate in the November election.
Is that Brad?
That was Brad Jacobson, yep, and he ran against a fellow named John Riley. And Brad did defeat Mr. Riley. I think the votes came in at about 5,500 some odd votes, for Brad Jacobson, and 4,300 or so for Riley,
So it
which
was
was a
over-
fairly close election.
Not
really.
that close. It was 1,000
Yeah,
votes.
but
in a
I
s-
mean,
in a small
Brad
population.
is well known in this area, and I mean, he's done a lot for Oxford, I think, from people I've talked to.
Mm-hmm.
Riley, being an individual that's running, I think for the first time, did really well, I think,
Yeah.
in this election.
Kind of like a basketball game on any given day.
You never know. That's why you folks need to get out there and vote, because it does make a difference. In this case, Mr. Jacobson will again run for Republican as a Republican candidate.
And
in
who
the
will be his
November election.
opponent?
That I don't know. It'll be a Democrat, but I don't know who the Democrat is. I haven't
Oh.
checked the ballot. So.
And probably a couple of offshoot parties.
Right, yeah, it could be. Addison Township, Their police protection was passed by 806 to 300, around 312. The fire department.
People like the police.
They do. Well, I like the police.
Yeah, and the fire department.
And the next one too is fire department ambulance. I really like that.
How'd that go?
It went very well for Addison Township. Again, 873 votes
Good,
versus
good.
557, I believe. Or I'm sorry, 250. So it really won by a large margin.
And there was one loser in that election.
There was NODA.
Yeah.
Addison folks decided that I guess NODA wasn't something that they wanted to provide funding for. So that lost in Addison.
I understand, though, that there's talk about putting it on the November ballot again in Addison.
I don't know if that's going to happen or if it's feasible, if they've even filed for it, but they have to
Like
do
I
that.
said, there's talk.
Yep, I don't think it'll happen. But here's the
Could I
deal.
quote you on that and
Yeah.
put a mark on the wall?
You can do that. Yeah, you can put it on the wall. Here's the thing. They only lost by 26 votes
Right.
passing it. That's a really small margin.
It's a small margin, but so was the total vote.
It is.
Was a small.
Yeah.
It's a small community.
Yeah. Well, the public library issue, it did go through.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, it didn't go through.
It didn't
either,
go
I don't
through.
believe.
Now
At
this
least-
is where they're going to build a new public library, isn't it?
I don't know what the issue was on that one, honestly. What do you think?
Was it a renewal or was
I think
it
it was a
an ad-
renewal of existing.
Okay, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I
But
know
it-
they were planning on building a new library.
You know, and yet I had heard that it did. You know, here's where we spread rumors, folks. I had heard originally that it did go through, but the figures I looked at the other day said it did not go through. So you know what? We'll give you more information when we come back on the next Minutes by Minutes, so you won't want to miss that program. Also, Lake Orion, they for the NODA program,
They passed that?
They passed it, but they did squeak through too. I mean, not by a large margin. Which kind of surprised me because NODA is actually headquartered, you know, in Lake Orion. So that was a surprise, a close running. But they did approve it, which is good. And Oxford, at least in my, you know, opinion, and Oxford NODA, of course, it was approved here, and by a pretty good distance. You know, 2,132 votes is what it was passed by.
What you're talking about is practically the only thing that passed.
Yes, everything else there is a problem. Oxford Township, for example, their bond proposal wasn't a good thing. It was kicked down. Their millage also proposal, it was kicked down too by over 1,000 votes for each. The library, we all know that was turned down for the public library. Parks and Recreation was the big one. A lot of people really showed up for that, and I was chairperson on one of the precincts, and I went outside to hear the conversation with people in the line way back, and a lot of interest, you know, in the Parks and Rec, and it was turned down by a major amount of votage. So
Right.
I think that one probably has got a stake in the middle of it, and probably not much will happen.
I
you
think
know,
people
for
got a
years.
little mesmerized by all
Yeah.
of the millage proposals that were stacked up there.
Exactly. I think too that some people were looking at issues and saying, well, I don't want any more taxes, and if there's a way I can decrease my taxes, and that's what I'm going to do. And I think that there's people out there that are still struggling, you know, from this big old, what they
That's
call
true.
recession, which I call depression in 2008, and still struggling. Michigan really is not back yet. What's going on?
Well, we do have meetings coming up, unlike last time. On 8/12 at 7 o'clock, the Village of Oxford, or that is to say, the Oxford Township Parks and Rec is meeting. At 7:30, Addison Township Planning Commission, and at 6:30, the Village of Oxford Council, Mr. Elgin. And on 8/13 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Board of Trustees, an important meeting. And at 6:30, the Oxford Board of Education is meeting. And 8/14 at 7 o'clock, the Oxford Township Planning Commission. And at 7:30, the Addison Township Zoning Board of Appeals. On 8/18 at 7:30, the Addison Township Board of Trustees, an important meeting again. And at 6 o'clock, the Oxford Village Downtown Development Authority.
You know, we were talking about people voting and people turning things down. I wonder what people are doing statewide. You know, if it was the same type of trend throughout the state or only through Oxford and Addison.
I understood. I was listening to an interview the other day, and they were saying that major bond issues and proposals really didn't do that well. But if they were under a certain limit, maybe $10 million, there was a good possibility that they passed.
Well, you know what? We'll have to talk about this another time. This is Minutes by Minute. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Dave Kenny.
We'll catch you next time.
There is a place where the air is pure and water runs sparkling clean. There is a place where a small, quaint village stands, surrounded by vast meadows and rolling hills. That place is the jewel of Oakland County. It's called Oxford, Michigan. If your dream or vision is for a safe, secure, and better life for you and your family, this is your invitation to come see for yourself the wonderful experience that could be yours. It's true that many lakes, nature trails, fishing, and over 500 acres of parks attract lots of people to Oxford. But there's much, much more. Quaint little shops, small pubs, and many unique fine restaurants. Near the center of town is a white church with a steeple, and a park where a live band can be heard playing from the gazebo on hot summer nights. You are easily transported into a more relaxed and unhurried time. Although the village of Oxford reminds you of years past, the warmth and pride of its hard-working residents truly sets it apart from other communities. Oxford School Board has worked with parents to provide their children with the finest education possible. The result? A modern global school system with the first world-renowned international high school program, the 5th Core World Language and Culture program, and 11 premier sister schools expanding the globe from China to Mexico. Oxford residents are safe and secure in knowing they have one of the most modern police and EMT forces in Oakland County. If your vision is to start or expand a new business venture in a fiscally responsible environment, Oxford, Michigan welcomes you with open arms. We are one of the few Oakland County communities to offer the unique one-stop program, where Oxford officials make it easy for developers and builders to complete their projects from start to finish. The one-stop process cuts through financial and legal red tape, frustration that usually faces entrepreneurs as they try to get their project off the ground. If your dream is for a new business venture or a better life for you and your family, there is a place called Oxford, Michigan.
I remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to homes. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.